Hi, welcome to Alicante in Spain, the launch of the 2014 version of Honda's VFR800F. Ever since the brilliant original VFR750F of 1986, Honda's VFR has been a slightly eccentric creation, standing out from the crowd with its V4 engine layout, its classy single-colour paint schemes, and even with its market positioning as a sportier than average sports tourer. In the late 80s and early 90s, a succession of VFRs established those initials as a byword for versatility and high-quality engineering. But time moves on. In 2002, Honda enlarged the V4 engine to 782cc and added VTEC variable valve typing. But that wasn't enough to maintain the VFR800 status, as many riders abandoned traditional sports tourers for adventure bikes. That reduced market is one reason why it's not only taken Honda 12 years to update the VFR, but even this latest model still uses essentially the same engine and frame. This bike's a bit slimmer and sharper, and its character's still on the sporty side of sports touring, dictated by a cockpit layout that leans the rider forward to handlebars that are fairly low, but slightly higher and further back than the previous models, giving a bit more comfort at slow speeds. Instead of redesigning the 16-valve V4 unit for more power, Honda retuned it for improved low and mid-range performance, with new cams, revised fuel injection, and a new exhaust with a low silencer instead of the previous model's under-seat pipes. The result is a maximum output of 104 horsepower, that's a few horsepower down on the previous models, and incredibly also 1 horsepower down on the original VFR750F of almost 30 years ago. But performance at lower revs is extremely strong, making the Honda very easy to ride at slower speeds when we set off on the launch near Alicante. And the good thing is that the bike's also quick enough to be really good fun. There's no choice of engine mode, but that's fine, because the one you do get works really well. Throttle response is excellent all through the range, and the V4 motor stays smooth enough to encourage plenty of revs. Generally, the VFR also shifted very swiftly, with the help of Honda's first accessory quick shifter. But a couple of times the box found a false neutral that sent the revs soaring in worrying style. Most of the time the engine's noise really enhanced the ride, especially when the revised, smoother acting VTEC system kicked in at about 7,000 RPM, with a harsh, almost metallic sound that really added to the feeling of acceleration. There's enough power for a top speed of about 140 miles an hour and relaxed cruising at normal highway speeds. There's also a new traction control system, which can't be adjusted apart from turning it off, and it's worth having, though its effectiveness was hard to judge. Although the main aluminium frame spars are retained, most of the chassis is new, including the single-sided swing arm and rear subframe that's now made from aluminium instead of steel. Replacing the old model's 2 side-mounted radiators, which you can see here, with one in front of the engine, also contributes to an overall weight loss of 10 kilos, or 22 pounds, giving a respectable curb weight of 239 kilos, or 527 pounds. Handling and ride quality also impressed, despite the fact that there's no sign of the electronically adjustable or semi-active suspension that we'd no doubt have seen from a BMW or a Ducati. Instead, the VFR gets 43mm upside-down forks with preload and rebound damping adjustment and a Pro-Link shock with a useful remote knob to adjust the preload. It's not high-tech, but it works well enough, combining with unchanged steering geometry to give the VFR easy handling along with plenty of stability. It also stopped pretty hard, aided by new radial 4-pot calipers and a revamped ABS system, though surprisingly Honda have abandoned the combined system that links front and rear discs. Sports tourers are built for practicality as well as performance, of course, and in some respects the VFR is good. It comes with decent mirrors, self-cancelling indicators, heated grips and a centre stand, all very useful. The 21.5 litre tank is big enough for a reasonable range. Most riders should get over 170 miles, although the V4 engine is not particularly economical. The new instrument panel with its centrally placed rev counter looks neat, and its information includes fuel consumption and gear position. But it's not all good news. You have to take your hand off the bar to toggle through the information. The button to disable the traction control looks like a bit of an afterthought, and there's no cruise control, let alone features like fairing pockets or an integrated sat-nav, which would lift the VFR's touring ability further above that of a simple sports bike. At least the seat's now adjustable for height, and it also looks reasonably comfortable for a pillion as well as the rider, and comes with a colour-matched pillion seat cover as well as retractable grab handles. But up front, the low screen can't be adjusted, unlike that of the 1988 model VFR750F that I once owned, or of course like those of most adventure bikes, and I found it generated a fair bit of wind draw that would be annoying on a long ride. So in some respects the VFR does seem a missed opportunity, and it's a bit frustrating that it isn't the state-of-the-art sports tourer that mighty Honda could have produced if they'd really pulled their finger out in the way they would have done back in the 80s. but despite its obvious compromises, I really enjoyed riding the VFR, so much so that I would consider buying one, not least because Honda's cautious development has enabled them to keep the price competitive. Perhaps it's best just to accept this latest in the line for what it is. Quick, versatile, classy, slightly eccentric, fun to ride, and still very much a VFR.